Profiling is using the immediate image and appearance of somebody to judge further into their personality. Aside the police, even our elders, our fathers, if somebody comes with dada and tattoo, they assume he's a bad boy. He had his grandmother in the hospital and he had to do certain things to try and get money for her surgery, and he was struggling throughout the night and he encountered police. Everything was going well and they were about to let him go until they saw a tattoo on his hand and everything just burst. Hey, calm down. People should be allowed to express themselves in different ways, and the community should accept diversity within itself, and that is how people grow. We are doing it wrong and we are doing it inaccurately. With information, you can be more accurate. So if the police wants to really profile people, instead of what they are wearing, how about how they talk? How about how they talk around certain topics you bring up as a police officer interviewing a random citizen? How about how defensive they get when you accuse them of something? You can be nice about it, but then there's smarter ways to read people when you interact with them, to know more about them other than just what they wear and how they look. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. It's your man Cook Boy, and welcome back to the Good Living Podcast. This episode is powered by Aura Nigeria, a hub for your feminine corporate wears. Today, we are talking about profiling. It's a topic that is very conversant with us, the young people, or let me say young boys. There's an episode, We Are Food. If you haven't seen it, please check that out, where I talked about how profiling affects the young male African, or let me say Nigerian adult, if I'm going to be very specific. And what is profiling really? Profiling is using the immediate image and appearance of somebody to judge further into their personality. And most people use profiling on a day-to-day basis, even you and me. It's not the way they use it in the news or the way they say it on Twitter that is actually the only thing it is. You know, there are different patterns of profiling and different ways people profile people. For example, if you go to the market and you're selling something, if you're a trader, with the kind of customers you get, the way they appear, you can assume what they were able to afford, and you can tell them different prices. People do that in the market. So if you're somebody that looks really good and looks really rich, you can price them more or charge them more than people who just look tattered, because they might not be able to afford the heavy amount you just gave this other man. And that is an example of profiling. The same way you see somebody standing on the road, if you are in Wuse 2, for example, Onu M knows what I'm talking about. If you're in Wuse 2 in the night, according to dressing, you might know which ladies are there for business and who is just standing on the road or walking by, you understand? So we use profiling every day. But I want to talk about it in the sense of police and thief, or police and young people and are making arrests up front, the way they do it in this country these days. It's not a lie. Everybody knows that police just enter and pack people from anywhere and say they've made an arrest and extort you most of the time. Anyway, the way the police does it, they have certain things that they look out for in a young person, and they assume that you are a bad person. Aside the police, even our elders, our fathers, if somebody comes with dada and tattoo, they assume he's a bad boy rather than he's a good boy. You get? And one of the reasons I think this is the case is because a lot of our morality comes from religion. And it's almost like what the church doesn't accept, the society doesn't accept. And you will hardly see a preacher which is the head of the church, which is the head of morality in our society now. You hardly see them with tattoos. You hardly see them with any funny looking haircut that is not low cut or skin cut. Or if anybody goes bad as he be, they will do punk. It is Pastor Jimin who now that has dread from acting, which he had from acting, that before he now inherited his father's business. Church. So, with what I've said, this means that profiling is actually... I'll give you another example, something I learned about profiling recently. In 1922, I think it was, there was a study made where it was study of criminal... I don't care, you people don't care too. Well, the study showed the percentage success of profiling of investigators over criminals. So if you're an investigator that is trying to profile a criminal, the success rate they had then was 21%. That is the way our police people are using it now. They have 21% success rate of catching a thief or catching somebody just by looking at their appearance. Something happened between me and my friend fairly recently, I would say. He came to see me, and one Sunday morning, we were going out. So we just took a stroll on Sunday morning to go and look for something to eat. We were going to buy bread actually that morning. and just walked down my street, found a shop, bought the bread, and then we were on our way back. And then on our way back, we just looked, the street was empty, it was a Sunday morning. We just saw this van with police people at the back and inside, just pulled up just right beside us. Personally, I don't think I look like that. Like you can profile me and want to think I'm into fraud or cultism. But I don't know what they saw. Between two of us, they just came and packed. And being educated people too, we are not scared or anything. We said, okay, officer, any problem? And so their demeanor was a bit calmer with us. So we're trying to figure out what the problem was. Why did they have to stop us? Why us? What are you looking for? Are we under arrest? Do you know me from anywhere? Because I'm a law-abiding citizen moving, and you're the one that is stopping me. So they're demanding different things. What do you do for a living? Want to check our phones and stuff like that. But it is the profiling. And when the matter got heated, not too heated because it was resolved easily, we didn't have anything to hide. But when the matter got resolved, towards the ending, one of them said, the reason he's profiling is because see the things we are wearing now. See, now pointed my friend that pointed his bangle that he had in his hand, pointed my necklace, and said, "Is these things like anybody can wear it. It's for fashion. If you think it looks good on your body, you buy it and you wear it." And so, if you keep doing that and say you are looking for Yahoo boys and cultists, and this is your pattern, this is your method, you are sure to reckon only a 21% success. Now, I'm not going to lie, because if you do the research yourself, you will see that also in 2021, another study was conducted. And in this study, they said that there is now an 86% or 81% success rate when these investigators are trying to profile criminals. So profiling has actually become more accurate in recent times. But it doesn't mean that everybody who profiles from 2021 upward now has a 81% success rate. That's not what it means. It just means by the professionals that they sampled to do this experiment, they, according to what they know, have now begin to record success rate of up to 81%. Which means you and me that haven't learned anything about how to profile people, we don't know anything. We are still operating with natural instinct, which is what the people in 1922 were doing, which is what our police is doing, which is why that stopping people on the road and harassing them and just stopping anybody that is doing normal business because you think he looks like a cultist or a fraudster is not going to catch you cultists and fraudsters. But we keep doing that. Anyway, there's another evidence also, a book by Patrick King, Read People Like a Book. He said in there also that there are different ways to spot, that one is really about spotting liars. And there are different ways to spot liars, but it's not necessarily how you meet people that is the underlying personality. A lot of the times, your projection of the world is what you see in the world. Is your perception and your perspective of the world, what you see in the world, is not what the world actually is. So when you meet a new person, when you meet somebody and you think they're one way or the other, it is because of your experiences of what people who look like that have done to you that now makes you think this person is just like that. But he exists on his own, anonymously, independently. And it is your own projection and worldview that you've put on them and profile them. And if somebody or a certain group of people from around one place, like Nigeria now, for example, we have had experience with dreaded people, for example, we will have our own stereotype and our own profile for people who are dreaded. And that is why profiling exists in this country. We are doing it wrong and we are doing it inaccurately. And so with information, you can be more accurate. So if the police wants to really profile people, the difference between the people in 1922 and 2021 in this study is the information they had. Now, if you have that, pay attention to the smaller, finer details. Instead of what they are wearing, how about how they talk? How about how they talk around certain topics you bring up as a police officer interviewing a random citizen? How about how defensive they get when you accuse them of something? You can be nice about it, but then there's smarter ways to read people when you interact with them, to know more about them other than just what they wear and how they look. Like every blackly person smokes Igbo. Those kind of things. There are different reasons why people's lips have different colors. Now, that is something that is evident among Igbo smokers, that their lips are often black. But it doesn't guarantee that every single person you see with lips like that, some of them is hereditary, So we cannot really judge and you cannot really say you are correct unless you are using a certified system and pattern to use to read people. And how do you get certified systems and patterns? It's by reading books on how to read people. Two that I would recommend is 48 Laws of Power and Read People Like a Book. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene and Read People Like a Book by Patrick King. Another thing is tattoos. And tattoos are, I don't know why they look dangerous. I don't know why they look dangerous, but to people they look dangerous. And in Africa here, the exposure is because we often see it's the way tattoos have been exposed to us. We saw them in movies, we saw them, and the people that played in those movies who had tattoos were often bad people. That's how it looks. And people forget that there's another reason why you can want to put ink on your body, and it could be for artistic purposes. This thing is beautiful. I want to carry it everywhere I go. This thing means something to me. I want to write on my body and carry it everywhere I go. This person means something to me. I want her face or his face on my body. It's not because I want to be a bad person or I want to scare you or bully you. But people who do that certain have because it looks unorthodox when you want to cast them in a certain kind of role. There's a way it looks, and that is why it makes it look like that. But the motives behind tattoos have nothing to do with danger, but somehow they are likened to danger, or they are seen as dangerous when people come show up with them. The movie I saw today, I just saw it just earlier today, right? With Timini Egbuson and I can't remember the cast, but he had his grandmother in the hospital. Yeah, Neil Agbofro was in the movie too. He had his grandmother in the hospital, and he had to do certain things to try and get money for her surgery, and he was struggling throughout the night, and he encountered police. And I can't give you the whole gist of the movie, but everything was going on, and they were about to let him go until they saw a tattoo on his hand, and everything just burst. Hey, come down, and became very, very bloody after that. So that is just the extent to which tattoos have affected, I don't know, the way it is, the way it's seen, the way it's hated, the way it's demonized. So how do we get back from that? How will we realize? Because that's the wrong way of thinking. That's the wrong way of profiling. So we can help. We can actually erase this culture with certain moves that we make. Now, something like tattooing is very difficult to have people erase their minds that, tattoos are not so bad. But with other things, we can adjust, like hairstyles and the rest. We can fight some of these things, and you can tell somebody blinking, tinting their hair to yellow or red or another color doesn't necessarily mean they're into something bad or they're bad people. It just means they think divergently, And the same thing with people who have dreadlocks on their hair and people who like to dress differently from other people. As long as a woman is covering up and as a man, it looks decent and clean, people should be allowed to express themselves in different ways, and the community should accept diversity within itself. And that is how people grow. If you allow everybody to be comfortable and be themselves, they'll be the best versions of themselves, and then you'd have a better citizenship in your community or in your society. But what are the practical steps you can use to get this thing, think how to regress this thinking? The first method would be, as people who are divergent in behavior, in appearance, you now try to make sure that you are in line in behavior. So if you know that you have dread or your head is dreaded, you already know how they see us that have dread, So don't let what you do make people begin to reinforce the thinking. Let it start with you today. That anytime they talk, say they bad about people where they keep dada, make the no talk from my head, make it be from me today. You go stop. So if you think like that, and the person with the blonde hair thinks like that, and even the person with the tattoo thinks like that, you see an old woman, you go and help her. Even with your blonde hair, you see an old man walking, you help him. You are polite when you enter somewhere, you greet. You are courteous when you see people. People begin to think of how well behaved you are, and you'll be associated, your appearance will be associated with good behavior. And if that is propagated now, you see that thinking of profiling will be eradicated with time. But there are certain things, there's a way you can draw the line, because there are certain things that are too much, So for a woman, as long as there's no much exposure, I will not tell women how to dress, but within yourself, I believe that you know when there's too much exposure in what you're wearing. You know when stuff you're wearing is dirty or smelly. So as long as it's not affecting the next person one way or the other, you are good. So you can express yourself however you want, but there should be a line where from here, this is nudity. But from here, this is good, artistic, decent, a bit on the edge. There's differences. And with men as well, as long as you look clean, you're also not nude, you're not naked, because there are different things too. I'm talking about nudity as if it's only a woman's problem. Some men just like to open their body anyhow. You see, I've seen a picture on Twitter where somebody like up to his pubic hairs were showing, So as long as what you're wearing is neat, you know, and it is not exposing too much as a guy, you should be good to go. You should be allowed to express yourself freely because it is not inflicting or affecting the next person. And if you can do that, you're staying within the confines of what is good and what is right and what is understandable for society. And I think we'll be fine if we think like this. But this is my opinion, like I said. And the other way around, like I had a conversation with my father. He said, instead of, because I used to be very divergent, when they used to cut hair, I used to keep hair before or do this punk that will go all the way to the back. And I would ask, I will always be very um defiant when they want me to cut my hair or go and dye my hair back to black and stuff like that, or lose the hair that I plait. And I explained to my father that this thing, they're not bad now. You know me, I'm your son. I'm a good boy. This thing doesn't make any difference. He will say, hey, I understand, but people in church. And he'll be saying, but so just so that they will not talk about you, just barb the hair now and stay so that nobody will talk about you. And that is conforming, me conforming. And I thought about it. It is better not to conform than to conform in the long run because there is no improvement if everybody is just conforming. When I know deep down in my heart, I want to express myself like this, but because I want to conform, or my father and everybody, society has forced me to bend, I have to barb low cut and dress like this guy that likes to do it and he doesn't mind, but me, I don't like to do it. So there's a rebellion inside me now that begins to build, and I will suppress it because I'm trying to conform. But at the end of the day, when there's an opportunity, it is rebelliousness that will come out, and it might be, it might be expressed in any form, violently or otherwise. So it is better that you understand people's point of view and their view on life and their preferred method of self-expression and respect it. And that way we can begin to improve and grow as community. You might have the best tech guru now available to you in your neighborhood because he has dread. You don't even see him as that. You're looking for the one that is wearing eyeglass and carrying laptop. So as the society improves when you give everybody a chance to be themselves with proper limits and boundaries. It has been a pleasure talking to you. This is the Good Living Podcast. Don't forget to patronize Oral Nigeria. The Instagram link is in the description and you can contact them for your corporate feminine wears. Thank you very much once again and peace out.